So in watches, as in life, there's thick and there's too thick. And I know you guys are all wondering about the Tudor Black Bay Pro, so that's what we're gonna find out today. Hey guys, I'm Max and this is Watch Crunch. Are you looking for a place to talk watches that's free of snobbery and harassment? Well, you belong on watchcrunch.com, a place where real watch nerds live. So Watches and Wonders came and went in March, and I gotta say, I wasn't all that impressed. I mean, we got some skeleton watch from Grand Seiko and that funny looking left-handed GMT from Rolex, but one watch that really caught my eye was the Tudor Black Bay Pro. Well, I finally got my hands on one of these, and I have to say, I love it. In this video, I'm going to tell you why I think this is the GMT of the year. Some little quirks I've noticed while playing around with it, and of course, answer your burning question of, is it too thick? The Black Bay Pro, an admittedly terrible name. To me, it sounds like someone you'd hire to come fix your leaky toilet. So we're off to a good start. But at a glance, this watch looks like something straight out of the 70s. The steel bezel, colorful hands, riveted bracelet, all conjures up images of disco balls and bell bottoms. And the reason becomes clear if you look a little closer. This Tudor may as well be a spitting image of the iconic Rolex Explorer II, reference 1655, a watch released in 1971. The Explorer II distinguished itself from the Explorer I by being a dual time. No, not to keep track of different time zones, as Rolex already had a GMT master for that. This was intended for cave spelunkers to track 24-hour periods when they were deep under the earth and unable to tell day from night. This was a bit of a niche market to target, but so much of what's cool today were those cult classics of yesteryear. And that's why I say Tudor is like the old Rolex. So decades ago, Rolex made tool watches and built their reputation on robust construction and professional utilitarianism. The Rolex of today has strayed pretty far from that rugged ethos into more of like the Lambo driving social influencer crowd. Luckily for enthusiasts, Tudor has risen from Rolex's old image, and it's from those roots which the Black Bay Pro hails. Okay, so next let's address the elephant in the room, which is the thickness of this watch. But first guys, please take a second, drop a like for this video. Also, consider subscribing if you haven't already. It will really help the channel to continue to bring these hot new releases to you. So on paper, the numbers sound a little bit scary. 14.5 millimeters thick is almost like Kim Kardashian level of watch. And not unlike Kim, Tudor is not shy about showing off the thickness with that slabby midcase that cascades straight down like a solid wall of metal. However, there's a few reasons why this watch actually wears smaller than stated. First, if you discount the height of the dome sapphire, the case is only about 13 millimeters high. Visually, the crystal doesn't contribute much to a watch's height. Next, the width of the 39 millimeter case, 39.5 if you count the steel bezel, is manageable, and the bezel being the same color as the case actually reduces the visual size of the dial. Lastly, I got this watch on the bracelet, which helps to balance the heavy watch head, keeping it centered on my wrist and preventing that wobble you get, especially on a thinner strap. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not minimizing this watch's shortcomings. I do wish it was a little thinner. And I'm a stickler for thickness. Having a skinny wrist with a flat profile, there's not a lot of real estate to play with. For example, when I tried the 41mm Tudor Black Bay GMT, which is the same thickness as this watch, it was immediately a no-go for me. The lugs were hanging off the sides. But when I tried the Pro on for the first time, my first impression was, that's not as bad as I thought. On the wrist, the watch feels like a solid and purposeful tool, but not unwieldy. So don't call it thick, you'll hurt its feelings. Call it big boned or something. Now, speaking of the bracelet, it's a good one. Given the watch's vintage cues, I've made my peace with the faux rivets. Otherwise, it has a nice taper, the clasp is solid with ceramic bearings, and the cherry on top is a quick adjust system that's super easy to operate and will give anything out of Big Brother Rolex's catalog a run for its money. The case is really beautifully done with mostly brushed finishing. The fixed steel bezel is very reminiscent of the 1655 with a iridio brush surface and even numerals from 2 to 24. The large crown is a pleasure to operate and features the traditional Tudor rose engraving. Now let's get a little closer and peep the details, because there are some interesting things down at this level I've noticed. First, we get a matte black dial featuring the Tudor Shield logo. The lume looks kind of funny, and that's because they're ceramic lume blocks rather than lume-filled metal surrounds. This was done to mimic the 1655's lume plots, but the benefit is that these naked lume pucks are especially bright when the light goes down. Next, we get a striking yellow GMT hand that also features the snowflake square. But the stem isn't actually straight. Rather, it's an elongated trapezoid shape, tapering as it reaches to the edge of the dial. This is a true GMT movement, meaning you can independently jump the hour hand, and that's also how you advance the date. One interesting detail is that I'm convinced that this crystal is tinted yellow, because not only do the lume and the hands have a bit of photina, even the dial gets a yellow cast on it at certain angles. A very unique look that I've grown to like. The movement inside is the in-house MT5652, the same one as found on the Tudor Pepsi GMT. This movement is the major contributor to the watch's height, as Tudor doesn't have a thin GMT movement in their bag. But it's no slouch, being cost certified with an anti-magnetic silicon hairspring, a 4 Hz beat rate, 70 hours of power reserve, basically a proven movement fit for an explorer's watch, all with 200 meters of water resistance. On the wrist, the Black Bay Pro oozes vintage vibes. The high contrast dial makes this watch extremely photogenic and was a pleasure to shoot with the camera. Now, to answer your question, no, I don't think it's too thick. It wears surprisingly well, and if you can look past the dimensions on paper, what you get is a superbly built chronometer with one of the most coveted complications out there, a rich and unique history, all for less than $5,000. I've always dreamed of a vintage 1655, and this more than scratches that itch. My recommendation is get it on the bracelet, and you might have yourself a one-watch collection. But what do you think about the Black Bay Pro? Share your thoughts on watchcrunch.com with us. I'll put a link to the discussion in the pinned comments below. As always, stay crunchy. I'll see you in the next one.